Welcome to my Texas workshop. I'm Randy Lammers.
I'm Aaron Keevan.
This is Würth Knowing. I am so excited about today's show. We've got something really special to show our audience. How would you like to increase your manufacturing efficiencies, get more product off the assembly line at the end of the day, eliminate the complexity of joints, maybe take away lock washers, take away hex nuts, do bolted joints from one side of the assembly? We're going to introduce a revolutionary fastener today to all of industry.
Yeah, it certainly is. We covered a little bit of stuff in our last season talking about thread rolling screws. So this is that evolution, that revolutionary product that we slightly introduced there.
We did.
So we're talking about eliminating those no starts.
Yes.
We're also talking about eliminating stripping of the threads.
Oh yeah.
Really awesome stuff, so.
Absolutely. So we're very excited to introduce today our guest that we're going to have on the show from Research Engineering Manufacturing Incorporated, also known as REMINC. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us down here in the Texas workshop. I believe you traveled all the way from Rhode Island?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we're excited to be here, really.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. My name is Ed Hebert. I'm the VP of Innovation and Technology at REMINC, and it's my job to handle product R&D, marketing, and some of the IT duties for the company.
Important job.
And I'm Don Fosmoen. I'm the Director of Engineering for REMINC. I'm in charge of new products, application engineering, and training for our licensees and for end users, potential customers.
Yeah. I don't know if you know that Don has about 40 years of experience in the company.
So,
Oh, you've been in the business as long as I have, Don. You and I are going to talk later. We got
betcha.
some things to talk about. Outstanding. That's exciting stuff. Well, welcome to the shop. Thank you for being here. Let's get started.
Absolutely.
sounds good.
So REMINC is a truly unique company, and you guys do so much great stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ed?
We were founded in 1958 by Art Bancroft. And today, our company is owned and managed by Lori Bancroft Manley, who is Art's daughter. And throughout the entire span of REMINC, the mission has been consistent, and that is that we want to produce and license innovative products that both maximize performance and minimize the in-place cost of assembly.
So those are great things, but you're not a manufacturer.
We have a network of about 70 licensees with over 100 manufacturing locations globally. We, as the licensors, select, monitor, and audit the quality of the products produced by our licensees globally.
We call it REMINC here, but I think overseas it's a little bit different, right?
Right. So REMINC, Research Engineering Manufacturing Incorporated, is the company that controls licensing in North America, so Canada, United States, and Mexico. Everything outside of North America is managed by our sister company, Conti Fasteners AG. They're headquartered out of Switzerland, and we work hand in hand with Conti to ensure that wherever we are globally, quality is maintained. You know, we've been fortunate that for decades we have been embraced by the global automotive manufacturing.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, Randy's truck, for
Yeah.
example, right? His truck has some TAPTITE fasteners in it.
Yeah,
It says
Big Blue.
1972 Big Blue, right? And since then, since the 60s, we have been a big part of automotive. We also have some strongholds in construction, in electronics, and in other consumer goods. But a lot of industries, I don't think, know as much about thread rolling screws as automotive. Automotive sort of realized the benefits of that, and I think other industries could learn as well. And that's why we're here today, is hopefully that some of your viewers will be able to get a little bit more information about TAPTITE PRO and what it can contribute over generic thread rolling screw.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're doing this sort of show today. Get that word out there, because you guys have some fantastic products.
We've learned a lot about REMINC, Don. And very interesting, very unique company that you have there.
Absolutely.
You've got some really interesting designs that you've created, you've patented, but you have one in particular we're excited about. I think it's revolutionary for the industry, called TAPTITE PRO. Now, we did an episode on thread rolling screws, and we found that there were some challenges, and we wanted to see how you address those challenges with the TAPTITE PRO. So you're unique to the design that you have here. So let's start with ergonomics.
Ergonomics, we were able to reduce the amount of thread forming torque, which makes it easier on the operator.
Very good.
We're able to reduce the amount of end load required to start the fastener, so they don't have to push on the driver hard to make the fastener start to thread roll.
That's critical, because that has to do with the operator fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay, and alignment. You have some unique things on alignment as well.
Yep, the alignment helps with that also, because when the fastener goes into the hole, with this fastener, they can't go in at an angle.
Okay.
It only can go in straight.
So on a moving assembly line then the alignment is direct, so we're not working with the sidewalls of the hole that creates extra torque, and so you don't need that downward pull.
Absolutely.
Push.
And if you look, if we have this unthreaded nut member in the fastener, you can see even on an automated assembly line, it'll stand up straight until it's ready to be driven.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's going to help a lot, because we have a lot of moving assembly lines, a lot of off angle happening, and that will actually align itself.
That's right. That's right.
Very good.
We're going to have resistance to vibrational loosening, because it is a trilobular thread rolling fastener. So it's going to eliminate the need for lock washers, patches, those types of things.
Right.
So it can be a net cost savings because of that.
So in episode 3, we talked about that feature of the thread rolling screw, and we said that it meets the IFI 124, 125, and metric equipment standards. You were telling me, though, this exceeds that.
Oh, this absolutely exceeds the IFI standard. It's used very commonly for seatbelt bolts, because it eliminates the need for locking features on seatbelts.
Critical application there, and a lot of vibration.
Yeah.
So we talked about in generic thread rolling screws, we have some issues with them getting started. Now, a lot of times that is the hole size being incorrect, but also sometimes the geometry of the screw is not right. You address that issue with this screw as well.
Absolutely. With the special dual lobulation of our thread, we have a point that's very trilobular, and this creates lower thread forming torque, less friction and heat developed while we're thread forming.
All right.
And then we transition into the body, which is almost round, but it's still trilobular. But because it's close to round, we have the same cross-sectional area as a standard bolt and nut.
All right, let me feel this. All right, because I'm used to doing this. And I teach customers all the time, by the way, whenever you look at a screw and you're not sure whether it's a standard machine screw or bolt or it's a thread rolling screw, do this. Pinch it between your fingers and rotate it. All right, I do this on this screw, and sure enough, just as you said, there's a very trilobular shape to it. Also notice I can see the taper. It tapers down a little bit longer than I'm traditionally used to seeing.
That's right.
Then up here, you're right. I can just feel that trilobular shape. So as you said, more 360-degree engagement, greater for shear strength.
Yes.
Greater for pull-out resistance.
That's right.
And it does some really good stuff for us.
It absolutely does. And traditional generic fasteners will have one out of round shape or trilobular shape that'll go the full length of the fastener.
It does.
The problem with that is you have less strength in the nut member, so you tend to strip the fastener. We've also eliminated the failure mode of fastener stripping or nut member stripping with this design. We have a very unique thread design that helps us eliminate, in standard depths of engagement, failure mode of stripping.
That's a game changer, people. That changes the entire industry. So now we have a screw that can operate, assemble from one side, and do what a bolt does.
It can be an incredible cost savings to manufacturers when they don't have to have a nut and bolt assembly.
So it doesn't strip out. Because we taught you in episode 3, strip out your failure mode. And you're saying this one goes all the way to full tensile load, creating full clamp load of a property class 8.8, 10.9, or in the Inch series, grade 5 and grade 8. Game changer. How did you do that design? What's the tricks?
We have a very unique thread design in this. Our inventor He had his thinking cap on when he started this
I
one.
bet he did.
We had some great products in the past, but this one, he really thought about how this thread could form. We wanted to keep the same surface area contact with this feature of the thread,
All right.
so that we kept the same prevailing torque and the other features that we had with other thread rolling fasteners.
That's important to eliminate thread lockers and that type of thing. So we have the same prevailing torque. Even though that's a more rounded body, we still have the same prevailing torque.
Absolutely, in fact, improved a little bit.
Improved, okay, all right.
Yep.
We're getting better, go
Yep,
ahead.
Yep, and because of this unique thread, we have basically a 60-degree shaped thread, but we have a parabola that connects basically at the pitch line to the crest of the thread.
Parabola?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And what that does is it reduces the amount of material we're moving,
Right.
which keeps the thread forming torque low, but it also allows for more of the nut member material to be between the threads. And because of this, the nut member material, or nut member, actually becomes stronger. So we're able to fail the fastener before we fail the nut member.
Okay, that changes everything, Don, but I'm gonna put you to the test.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's make sure this thing works. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Okay, Don, let's do our demonstration here. But you know what? First, you have some specialty materials, Coreflex. What's that all about? Talk to me about Coreflex.
That's right. We have heat treatments for our products. Of course, case hardening is always an option, but sometimes you don't want to use case hardening. And so we have Coreflex N, which is a neutral hardening process, proprietary.
Okay.
And it's for aluminum, softer materials, so we don't have to worry about the drawbacks of case hardening, dissimilar materials, stress corrosion, those types of things.
Yes, so that's big because we get a lot of issues here with case hardened parts that want to micro crack and are going into aluminum, and we end up later on seeing stress corrosion cracking that shows itself, of course, as hydrogen embrittlement. So neutral hard going into aluminum. So that's the N, Coreflex N.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And we also have Coreflex I, which is an induction hardened fastener. So it's a standard grade strength equivalent fastener. So if it's 8.8, 9.8, 10.9 grade strength equivalent for the TAPTITE fastener with an induction hardened tip. So the working end is hardened.
Okay, so then let me ask you this question. We have customers that are using thick metal and they're laser cutting those holes. So we get hardening around the laser cut hole. So that induction hardened tip, is that going to be some advantage here?
I think it would be. We can even adjust that induction hardened tip to extra hardness,
Okay.
which would be helpful for that. But we're going to have to look at each application and see how thick is the material,
Right.
how hard is it to start with, and what's it going to be after the
Okay,
laser cut.
outstanding. All right, so the fastener we're going to demonstrate here today that you brought, the TAPTITE Pro, what is that material?
That is a Coreflex I 10.9 fastener.
Okay, with the induction hardened point on it. All right, and that's where it's doing the thread rolling work, right?
That's right.
Okay, then first, let me get my safety glasses. Those are safety lens?
These are.
All right, let me get safety glasses on here because we always want to maintain safe. And then let me explain to you what our setup is today. So what we have here is I have put in the vise weld nuts. Now these are unthreaded weld nuts that we see used out there in industry. As a matter of fact, Don, you see these used in specific industries, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We see them all over the industries we're in, unthreaded weld nuts. We especially see quite a lot of this even in electrical vehicles.
Ah,
And because of electrical vehicles, we need to have some kind of grounding quite often.
okay.
So when you're going into one of these unthreaded nut members, even if it has a plating or a finish for corrosion, it will remove that as it goes in, and it becomes a hand and glove fit, metal-metal contact. So
Wow.
it's a true ground every time.
Wow, we have a lot of customers that are manufacturing electrical products and a lot going on in the market today on electric lawnmowers. So this would be outstanding for that. If they're
Be a
doing it
great
in
product
electric
for that.
vehicles, they can do it in electric lawnmowers and
That's right.
other electrical equipment too. So that was a really good point to make. So let's go back to our setup here. What we have here is we have a standard generic thread rolling screw that's used in industry everywhere, very common part. That's zinc plated and waxed. So we're going to utilize that and we're going to run that into this unthreaded weld nut and see how that performs. Then we will also then run the TAPTITE Pro in the exact same assembly.
That's right.
So let's take a look at that. First of all, I want to take my 1980s screw gun you've seen on the show a couple of times already, and we'll just run this down to seat the screw and then finish it off by hand. So let's get it down, and it helps if you put it in fast forward. Okay, just to seat the screw, take my wrench. I'm not really worried about torque on this demonstration, so what we're going to do is let me just rotate this and see what happens. So again, we're kind of getting some easy rotation, not much going on here, and yeah, that has definitely stripped out. Now, that's your typical failure mode on thread rolling screws. And that's fine when you're tacking things together. But if you want this to be a bolted joint where you're creating clamp load in your assembly, what you want your failure mode to be, typically, is breakage of the fastener. So strip out will not accomplish that. So what you're telling us today is that you have designed this TAPTITE Pro with the capability to do full tensile load, clamp load capability equivalent to a bolt, and your failure mode is going to be breakage.
That's correct.
So you're saying this is going to break and not strip out.
This one's going to break.
All right. We're putting you to the test, Don. We're putting you to the test. Okay, the one you brought with you did have a different head size. Let me change my, my driver size out there. You're gonna do that one for me real quick, please. And, all right, Don, I'm gonna run this down. We're gonna seat it, and then we'll finish it off. Okay, and make sure we get the right one on socket on here too for that head size. All right, here's your test.
Moment of truth.
Moment of truth. I've not done this, guys. Let's see what happens. Okay, it feels pretty tight. All right, it feels real tight. Okay. That's a lot of revolutions. Okay, all right, yep, we're good, we're tight. And we broke in tensile break. I guarantee you, that was tight, guys. So that is outstanding, Don. Strip out normal, everyday mode of thread rolling screws, TAPTITE Pro.
That's right.
Full tensile break, equivalent to 10.9, which is also, for our American friends, equivalent to grade 8, and it broke.
That's right. Failure mode of fastener fracture. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, that, Don, is a game changer.
That's right.
In conclusion, that was fantastic. TAPTITE Pro thread design, able to create tensile stress equivalent to a bolt application.
That's right. With the new parabolic thread, we're able to create a stronger nut member, which means we're not going to strip that faster if we have a standard depth of engagement.
Fantastic.
That's amazing. Another added benefit, the major reduction in no starts.
Right, and that's the stabilizing thread, right? So stabilizing thread ensures proper alignment and minimizes the possibility of no start.
And materials.
Yep, materials. We have heat treatment options that address the problems with case hardening that you have in certain materials. So we can get into any material with the right heat treatment.
Very good.
And then grounding. I mean, we've seen some major manufacturers that are doing some great stuff with the TAPTITE.
Right, yeah. So, some of the leading automotive manufacturers in the world have chosen TAPTITE Pro as their grounding screw of choice. And you think about, by nature, it clears paint as it's forming its own threads. It ensures a hand and glove fit with the nut member. Continuity couldn't be better. So it's a great grounding screw.
And globalized quality.
Right. So REMINC, Research Engineering Manufacturing Incorporated, is a global licensor of product. So we are going to ensure global consistency and worldwide availability of our parts. When you're choosing a TAPTITE Pro, you are going to get the same part no matter where you are in the world.
So we're so excited about the TAPTITE Pro thread design. You can increase your manufacturing efficiencies, increase productivity, more parts off the assembly line, and reduce your in-place cost. Revolutionary for our industry. Roll internal threads and assemble to full tensile strength with TAPTITE Pro. That's worth knowing.
We'd like to thank our guests Ed and Don for coming from REMINC today. You know, if you like the content you saw,
Let me do this. If you like what you see, keep watching our episodes and click like, subscribe, and we'll see you the next time.